What's happening, folks? Back with another reaction, back with some more Orchestral Manoeuvres in the Dark, and more from their 1983 album Dazzle Ships. I wanted to say I appreciated there was a couple comments when I reacted to the opening tune that a number of people were excited to go through this album and they feel like this is actually where OMD begins to spread their wings a bit, so I was intrigued by that. And yeah, the next tune, Genetic Engineering, it's a concept I think is spoken about often with not a full understanding, not only, on social media where, there's a lot of dubious claims being bandied about, but even sometimes among people who, are in more official positions. But ultimately it's the idea of splicing gene sequences into pre-existing genomes or otherwise altering genomes with the idea of, accounting for some malady or perhaps providing some genomic benefits. So again, I think there's a lot of discussion about it, not all of which is fully informed. All I will say is that this is 1983, so a conversation about genetic engineering in 1983 would be very different than in 2023, no doubt. So I'm curious, if it is more literal or if it's, taken to a conceptual level or maybe even hypothesized or speculated about into the future, the idea of, creating duplicate humans or clone humans. So I wonder what might be on offer. Let's find out. This is OMD. The track is Genetic Engineering, and it's from the 1983 album Dazzle Ships. I think that's left. I think that was left channel only at the beginning.
Efficient, logical,
effective,
and practical. Using
all resources
to the best of our ability. Changing, designing, adapting our mentalities. Improving
our ability.
for a better way of life.
intricate clocks with moving parts and figurines that come out and hit things and then go back. Yeah, crazy. It's interesting, like lyrically I was really trying to key in on that. I didn't hear everything, not enough to get a full picture, but it sounds like it's directed at a young generation. It sounds like it might be about genetic alteration, gene therapy, but also creating better humans with, fewer flaws and so on, which always, the double-edged sword, eugenics is, creeping just behind that sentiment. So it feels like maybe there's this is the 1950s where we will, bend nature to our will and continue to use science to improve ourselves without thinking about, the consequences in some cases of what they were doing. So it feels like maybe there's a bit of that at play. And yeah, ultimately, I'm not sure, I didn't hear all the details, but yeah, it does sound like on some level we're talking about creating a new generation where with these improvements, again, maybe through, in some cases, more benign or even beneficial things like gene therapy and medicines that seek to understand a genome before, they're specifically prescribed, but leading into perhaps more extreme measures and, maybe making, again, a clone army or something to that effect. So it had this, ominous undercurrent to it, it felt like. But the sonics were crazy. They were this real, vertical, cascading, again, elaborate, intricate sort of feel with, bits and bobs popping in and popping out, like that fast, I don't know if it was hi-hats, but it was a fast, high percussive rhythm, and it would pop in and out of the track. Also using hand claps is interesting because a lot of it had this metallic crystal sort of feel, but then the hand claps gave it a more, human or organic type of feel. So yeah, it was a really interesting percussion or progression of sounds and percussion. But when it really hit big the first time, that took me by surprise. The way it started, I thought it was going to be a bit more stripped down and eccentric, and then it really hit in and became a much fuller, bigger tune. So yeah, really cool sonically. Lyrically, I liked what I caught, even if I'm not quite sure if it has that, again, that contrast of, we're talking about all this optimistically and we're just gonna, conquer any challenge with our understanding and, sort of the dark shadows and undercurrents beneath that. But either way, it was a compelling tune. Let me know what you think. I'm looking forward to this album. As I said, the way a couple people described it has me sufficiently intrigued. And again, I already like what we've gone through from them. It's interesting, I was just reading recently about Vince Clarke and the way that OMD was one of his influences and sort of inspirations to begin making a lot of electronic music. People around here may know I'm a big Vince Clarke fan, so shout out to OMD for not only their music, but the people they influenced who went on to make a lot of great music themselves. So big ups to them, big ups to you. Let me know what you think. I'll see you next time. Peace.